This is a very fresh story, dating 2 weeks ago. All right, yeah, thanks. That's better. All right, so a very fresh story. 2 weeks ago, November 13, 2016. I don't remember the exact day of the week, but definitely November 13. I remember the night being, still and clear of clouds as I parked my car going home and entering the house to a smiling father. He smiled, I smiled back. He said, "Hello, how are you?" I said, "I'm okay, everything's good." And that's when I realized how oblivion is such a blessing for those who are oblivious to what happens throughout the day and then just greet you with a smile at the door. Now, in that moment and in that night, I carried 3 truths with me. The first truth was I did not see anxiety attacks on anything, a person or a being, except in movies, one, and on my mother. And the second truth was I never thought an anxiety attack would ever happen to me on that very day. Now rewind back to a very unproductive, frustrating, filled with papers because I'm writing my thesis, and I remember it being so frustrating to write, so whenever I write something I would hate it, delete the document and then start over again because this is how it goes. But then after hours of constantly sitting on a chair and begging for the gods of creativity to inspire me to write anything about my topic, I just felt like it was going to be a writer's block, and I stopped working. Now, generally, you must know that I am someone who you can't call happy or sad or colorful or cheerful because I'm all of those in a big bundle. But it's like being someone who has hope, but without any sort of religion to back it up. So when the day was over, it just snapped to me that my friend was left earlier from the library and went to a meeting. It was in downtown, and he would finish at around 8 p.m. So it was kind of 7 p.m. So I collected all my stuff, and in my need for a presence, just a mere presence of someone who will, who I can nag to, or just tell about my day and frustration and how much of a failure I am for not being able to write anything in my document. I went ahead, called him up, illogically, irrationally, told him, because the road to it is the opposite to my home, so it's like I'm having a long journey to pick him up, get him to his home, and then go to mine. So it didn't really make sense. But I told him, I told him, all right, I'm coming, to get you because, that's the kind of person I am. So, So he told me that, oh, okay, I'll wait for you, and didn't say anything about it being irrational. So, I was driving. It was a lot of traffic on the seaside, almost 35 minutes of waiting, and reassessing why I did that in the first place. When I arrived, I parked the car in a very inconvenient place, and I waited for my friend to go out from the place he was in. Once he did, he got in the car. He told me, "Why did you come and get me in the first place?" So I told him, because I wanted to, because I'm being friendly and nice, and then all the colorful languages I can think of just came out. It's like I'm a nice person, I'm kind, I'm beautiful, I can do this, I can get you, to your house and make this happen because I need to achieve something today. Of course, this dialogue happened in my head, and instead I told him, I just wanted to get you because I don't want you to walk home. The very colorful language turned into something more colorful during the car because we started arguing all of a sudden. And it was like, "Why did you come and get me?" "Because I wanted to, but you didn't have to, but you had to." So it was a constant bickering and biting each other's cheeks and nose and bodies and whatever, figuratively speaking. certain point, I was crossing traffic lights, and I was displaying my abilities to really speed in the car I have, which is a small Spark Chevrolet. And I think if you ever speed in it, it's gonna do a bit of aerobic exercises for itself. So I was almost home, and we were still shouting. So the shouting was happening inside, windows closed, and on the outside it's like, the sky is beautiful, it's a Friday night, and I'm just driving my friend home while arguing with him. So at a certain point we just stopped, because it didn't make sense. What were we actually fighting about? What were we doing? And my friend told me, I don't understand. Why are you even shouting at me? I didn't really do anything. And I just paused, and I felt this feeling of failure again. I just argued with my friend. I'm a bad friend. And I just immediately shut off all feelings of anger and frustration. I didn't let them out. I kept them in me, and I remained silent for the rest of the ride, which lasted longer than it should have. I just unlocked the doors, and at that moment, I stopped my car, and I unlocked the doors, and I told him, well, welcome home. This is your house. Please, exit the car and leave. And so he was also frustrated, so he did that as well, and he went out of the car, and a lot of anger in his tone. He said, okay, fine, bye, and he just slammed the door and went out. Meantime, my head is starting to spin like 360 degree, and all of a sudden something else clicked. Gladly, I had the windows shut off, so I speeded a bit in my car, and in a turnover towards where my house was, I started shouting at the top of my lungs. It was like a soap opera where the singer is so bad at singing, and you're shouting constantly with emotion. And I was shouting constantly and gripping on the drive wheel too intensely, and my body then started shivering, and I continued screaming for about 5 whole minutes while driving, and assuming that all traffic lights were green. So this was like I was putting myself in a very dangerous situation at that moment. And then my mind kind of switched off, and I wanted my body to stop reacting to this anxiety I was feeling, and I couldn't stop. And so in all my ride home, I experienced the first anxiety attack that I could not stop. So at a certain point, 5 minutes away from my house, I had to literally park and try to breathe in and out so it kind of settles down, but it never really does. It kind of turns into a mellow, lighter form of anxiety that could be controlled by the mind, but still my body was etching for more anger and frustration. So I just let it be. I just I pulled myself together, and in that moment I just drove back home and parked my car downstairs and made sure that I looked good enough for the smiling father. This is when I learned my third truth. Anxiety attacks will come, but they don't come to stay. There are these moments, kind of like our lives. Sometimes we assume that we do count how we are in life through our age. So you ask someone, how old are you? And they tell you, okay, I'm 23, which is my age. And you figure who they are by their age. So 23 years old means you've experienced this and that, but you haven't done this. But it's not a matter of age, it's really rather a matter of moments, lahzat. These moments make you who you are. The impact that they have is more than those hours a day or weeks where they pass along and you don't feel much of change or impact affecting you on a body, mind, and spirit and spiritual level. So what I learned that night when I lied down after it happened, and as if nothing really happened, was the fact that you know, sometimes we need to breathe. Sometimes our bodies are telling us that, you know, this is a stop sign. You need to step back and reassess what you're doing. And I learned to accept those moments, even when we have those moments of pain, because they're here to teach us something too. And now I look at it, and whenever I'm really approaching a, you know, moment of almost anxiety, because it's really not something of a one-timer, especially in my case, I try to breathe more, and I tell myself that this is where you can start all over again. So create another moment to kind of counter the moment you're in. And amidst all that, it can cross miles. I promise you. All right, thank you.